Good morning, Softball America. Happy Monday, May 12th. The bracket is out. We are here live. It's our 2025 bracket reaction show, live from the On3 studios in Nashville. Gray Robertson, Tara Henry. Hi, Tara.
Hey, Greg. Good morning, everybody. Isn't this awesome? We're in like the On3.
Beautiful.
Look at this.
We got a whole studio. Shout out to our producer, Trey, friend from college. Just so happens to work here. Built by CTP. If you know, you know. Just legendary stuff. And Tara, we've got an absolutely stacked show. We're going to talk about the bracket. We're going to chat with the following people. Excuse me while I look at my laptop. Tori Tyson, Kat Rodriguez, Lindsay Fico, Koko Wooley, Chelsea Spencer, Gerry Glasco, Jordan Woolery, Macey Cintron, Devin Netz, maybe more?
Maybe. What a lineup. I'm just so excited to get all these players and coaches on here, talk some softball, really get going for postseason. I can't believe that it's here. I
know.
Really can't.
I know.
Excited.
Our first guest, Tori Tyson, the head coach at Howard, will be joining us in about 10 minutes. The chat is open. I can't see it, so converse amongst yourselves. Have fun. We'll address it on a later show later on this week. It'll be a blast. But we get to, first off, Tara, break down the bracket. First things first, 7 SEC teams, top 8 seeds. You can see the regional hosts right here. Thank you to Trey. You see the matchups if the seeds were to hold. And this is such a fascinating dynamic. Texas A&M is the number 1 overall seed. Oklahoma 2, Florida 3, Arkansas 4, FSU 5, Texas 6, Tennessee 7. South Carolina does get that last 8 spot in the top 8 Supers host list. What immediately stuck out to you, Tara, when the committee and Beth Mowens and Michelle and Amanda and Mendoza were shouting out the top 8 seeds?
You know, 2 things. I think we talked about this a lot in our shows is how many SEC teams were going to be able to get those top 8 seeds. And I think the biggest thing is it was 7 of 8. We weren't sure if it was going to be 7 of 8, but it ended up being 7 of 8. And then Oregon in that 16 seed. I think that was also a huge surprise to see Oregon at the 16 rather than Virginia Tech. Those are 2 of the biggest things I noticed. And I know the committee chair, we listened to an interview he had done. I think there's a couple things that we're going to go through and talk about what the actual criteria was this year for the tournament. And for me, I think it was that. It's the SEC 7 of 8 and Oregon in that 16 spot.
First off, before I give my thoughts, your boy got all 8 seeds correctly predicted. So shout out to the Bracket Packet show and all the people who called me crazy. We got it right. I think it was really interesting how winning percentage against the top 50 RPI teams was counted. And that seems to be the reason why Oregon slipped in the 16 spot over Virginia Tech. We talked about it. Oregon had not played a ton of a top 25 games. They were 17-4 against the RPI top 50. That seemed to carry the day when comparing the resumes against Virginia Tech. That's also the first time I have heard that metric specifically cited, winning percentage, not necessarily the number of wins. And that also was a differentiator, you know, earlier in the seed list. That's why UCLA was ahead of LSU. I think pretty much everybody across the board kind of said UCLA is either the 8 or the 10 and LSU's at 9. So that was kind of the first real surprise for me when the bracket came out that LSU was in the 10 spot. And I'm sure we'll talk about the Baton Rouge Regional and the obscene horrors that await the Tigers with some of the teams coming down to Death Valley. But yeah, it was interesting to hear the explanation behind a couple things because it was a lot of the usual stuff. Yeah. Top 25 wins, top 10 wins, but the winning percentage thing was an interesting wrinkle that I'm not quite sure was followed all the way around, but it seemed to be kind of the criteria that was used to break ties, more or less.
Yeah, with the winning percentage, I think that was obviously a huge part of the decision making. And also, he spoke about the last 10 games. So how you finish is still important. The last 10 games are really, really important. But again, it was that winning percentage. It wasn't the wins. It wasn't who you win. And it was a clean sheet. A clean sheet in terms of clean quad 3 and 4s. And I think the bubble teams that they spoke about, the last 4 in, last 4 out, that was a huge thing. It was that clean sheet in quad 3 and 4 with the teams that had made it in the Northwesterns and those that unfortunately did not get into the tournament in the BYUs and the Nevadas.
Yeah, that was another difference maker in the Oregon-Virginia Tech debate. they said it sure sounded like they said that the bad losses, the quad 4 losses for both teams kind of wash each other out. That series loss to Pitt looms extremely large for Virginia Tech this morning, and Oregon had some bad losses too, but again, Virginia Tech's kind of evened it out more or less. It was interesting. There weren't a ton of surprises, honestly. That's why I got so many right, frankly, because I didn't take a ton of risks and the committee didn't really either. But at the same time, I don't know. I thought it was like a B plus.
You giving it a B+?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at your bracket, and for those of you that have your bracket out, we'll go through it a little bit before we have Tori Tyson join us here. But I want to start with the 1 seed, Texas A&M. The Aggies, they get that 1 seed. I think it could have been, he said 1A and 1B, the committee chair, about the 1 seed. He did say that.
If only there had been a game.
If only there had been a game to decide that. But he did say 1A and 1B. So I do know that it was close. I do know that it was close between Texas A&M and Oklahoma. So we had it too. I mean, Brady had Oklahoma at 1. Gray, you had Texas A&M at 1. So it was a close number 1 seed. But again, ultimately, the Texas A&M Aggies, they just had more of a resume, per se, that was at a 1 seed.
I think a little bit more of a well-rounded resume. And they get an interesting regional. Liberty is a 2 seed. Look, they're 5 wins away from OKC. If you know, you know. Like, this is a Liberty squad that's taken down some teams over the years, and they've suffered kind of regional final heartbreak after regional final heartbreak over the years, but they've got an interesting 3 seed matchup against Marist, St. Francis, in I believe their final year at the D1 level, playing in College Station as well. I kind of hoped it would be Santa Barbara. I know we talked about that a little bit. Would have been fun for Joe Evans to go back to College Station, but for A&M, I really love this draw, which is how it should be when you're the number 1 overall seed. Yeah,
so for A&M, obviously a regional that is, when you take a look at all 16, Gray, I think it is the easiest regional, and for a number 1 seed that will help. But again, you got Maya McDonald, Adam Maris, and Rachel Roop, a 1 to watch out of Liberty too. Again, you never know with Dot Richardson and her squad; they could put a fight there. But I think that's a good draw for the Aggies.
Yeah, and Oklahoma, the number 2 overall seed, an interesting quadrant, more or less, over there in Norman as well. You've got OU, Cal, Omaha, and Boston U. Boston U.
Oh, bless them. Their reaction. That reaction said it all.
Because, they're like, again, because last year we opened this show talking to Coach Waters about how, I think it was 50-4 Boston U was the 3 seed in Norman, and how they kind of felt a little gypped by that, and now here they are again as the 4 seed. They won their conference, so congrats to Batarias on winning the Patriot League over Army, but it's a tough draw. And then Cal and Omaha, we'll talk to Chelsea Spencer just a little bit here on the show, but solid 2s and 3s. So for Oklahoma, it's an interesting draw as well. I still feel like the Sooners are the favorites here, but it's it's not quite as simplified as maybe College Station looks.
No, and I do think, like you said, Boston U, again, shout out to all of the teams, their reactions. That's probably my favorite part of Selection Sunday is their reactions. I know Boston U was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me again? But I think that's what makes this so special. And I think we've got to step back and really look at our sport and know that we're at a point where that's able to happen, and you've got cameras at every single school, and we get to celebrate that. And it hasn't always been that way. And so I think for me, just watching the election show last night, it was just pure joy, just seeing their reactions, and that is just, for me, the coolest thing about our sport is the growth and what we've seen in the past, decade, and where we're at now. So, but to get back to Oklahoma, I don't see the Sooners having an issue getting out of there. But you never know. You got a feisty Cal squad with Chelsea Spencer. We'll talk to her, and then Boston U. We'll see, and Omaha.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, the Groffs are going to be doing their thing for Omaha. Look, we're going to talk to Tori Tyson in just a moment. We're going to try and touch on as many regionals as we can, but I will open with a broader discussion about the toughest regional, Tara, and I think everyone in softball is kind of in agreement about which regional that is.
Baton Rouge.
Yeah, Baton Rouge.
Whew.
Oh, Tigers, no. What has happened? What Why, committee? LSU with Jordy Ball, with a UConn team that's not to be trifled with, and their 4 seed is Southeastern, who, look, lesson learned last year. Like in the Tuscaloosa Regional, we said in postgame, Godspeed to anybody who draws the Lions in the future in regional play. And this year it's LSU, and they've got them as a 4. That's a team in the 60s in the RPI as a 4 seed in Baton Rouge.
I was shocked, honestly. If you're LSU, you've got to throw your number 1 or number 2 in game 1. That's not an easy game 1.
You might have to throw both.
You might, and that, just looking at that, not only the regional, then you've got to potentially have to go through Jordy Ball and Nebraska. But even looking ahead, which I know a ton of teams don't do, but even looking ahead, then getting paired up with Tennessee and Carlin Pickens. So having to face Jordy Ball in a regional, and then, oh, hey, now you're going to go to Tennessee and potentially face Carlin Pickens. I don't know what the Tigers have done to the selection committee, but I feel like this happens almost every year, Gray.
Yeah, it's not great. Last year they had to go to Stanford to play Nyjah in Supers. This year they've got Jordy. If they win that, then seeds hold. Carlin Pickens awaits in Super Regionals. I just feel like every year we're looking and it's, man, LSU got another tough draw. And this is another example of that.
And they cited winning percentage, and we've never heard that. They've cited winning percentage to why they were behind UCLA. And it's going to be an interesting road for the Tigers, and we will be able to see how they handle it, how they handle that adversity. That's going to be a tough region. It's either going to bring you together and galvanize you, or it's going to be a tough pill to swallow. So I think that's a huge regional that everybody has an eye on in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, so that'll be a fascinating matchup. Jordy Ball, I mean, that was kind of the ticking time bomb that everybody was watching out for. Where's Nebraska going to go? The other one was, where's Nyjah going to go for Texas Tech? And it turns out as the 12 overall seed, and their matchup in Supers would be Florida State. But again, those two pitchers, even as far as a month ago, everybody was like, where Jordy and where Nyjah going once things come through. And that'll be a very tough matchup for LSU. And we'll talk about the Lubbock Regional in just a little bit when Gerry Glasco joins us. But yes, fascinating stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to get Tori Tyson on here in a second. We're just working on getting her on here, and she'll be able to talk about Howard. But, I think when you take a look at these regions, like as we say, that LSU Tennessee matchup is going to be key. We'll talk a little bit about South Carolina and UCLA when we get to that. But again, I don't have a ton of complaints other than I think the LSU regional for the committee. I think that maybe is my only complaint. I mean, Brady has a few.
Brady always
has a few.
It's our guy.
But Virginia Tech was on that bubble. I know the committee chair did say that Virginia was close to hosting. They did talk about that. He did say that in the meeting following Selection Sunday. So just in general, I think my grade is maybe a B as well. Not good, not great. I'm going to go with a B for the selection committee.
I think that's fair. And real quick, let's talk about the Durham Regional before we bring on Tori Tyson, because Howard is the 4 seed in Durham. 14 overall seed is Duke. The 2 seed there is Georgia. And the 3 seed is Coastal Carolina, your Sun Belt champs. This is an interesting little callback to a couple years ago. We've referenced a lot on various pods how Georgia is kind of trying to replicate what they did in 2021. That was a team of mostly freshmen who struggled in the regular season and went on a run to the World Series by beating the seeded Duke team. It was in Athens, but still. And then beating Florida in Supers in Gainesville. Well, here we are in a situation where Georgia is the 2 seed against a seeded Duke team, this time in Durham, matched up with the Florida Gators potentially for Supers. And also Coastal Carolina, Nicolette Picone. That is a sneaky 3 seed. Coastal's got some really good wins this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is another regional where there could be an upset here. Mm-hmm. And you talked about Coastal Carolina. We talked about Nicolette Picone, Georgia Hood, and Delaney Keith. Those two with 50-plus RBIs. double-digit home runs, those two are just going to be a problem for opposing pitchers. So when you take a look at Coastal Carolina and then Georgia, a Georgia squad that was young to start the season, but then as we saw towards the end of the season, there was only one freshman in the lineup in Mua Williams. And it's really going to be about how Randy Rowland and Lily Backus are able to get it done in the circle, and can that offense put some runs on the board. They've got leadership. They've got senior leadership in Dallas Goodnight, in Lindy Ray Davis. They've got leadership there. And so I think that if the Bulldogs can put it together, they could potentially get out of there as well. This is a sneaky tough regional, Gray. I don't know how you feel, but I think it is kind of sneaky tough. And then we're going to talk to Tori Tyson. She's going to get on here. We're trying to figure it out. But we'll get her on here because I would love to hear her thoughts on this region.
Yeah, Howard's a great story as well. And, Duke, man, they're sneaky. Like, I never quite know what I feel about Duke when I watch them. I know Cassidy Curd has kind of been off the radar for the last few weeks. Danny Drugmuller's done a really good job kind of pitching as the ace for the Blue Devils. That's a lineup that's got a lot of pop. Anna Gold, really, really impressive player for the Blue Devils. Duke has postseason experience. They went to the World Series last year. They've slowly kind of been growing each and every season. So this is one of those regionals where when I look at it and I'm trying to predict it, and that's not necessarily what we're going to do on this show, but when I don't know, I sometimes side with the seeded team. And so even though a lot makes sense it would make sense to not pick the Duke Blue Devils. At the same time, I can see why you might just want to go, I'm not sure, let's go Duke.
I'm not sure why. I'm just going to go with the seed because the committee said so. I do think this is a really sneaky regional. I wouldn't be surprised if someone else got out of that regional. Tori, we're coming. Don't worry, we're going to get you. We're coming, Tori.
We're on the way.
It's a new setup. I mean, this is like fancy and setup.
I know.
We're used to just
it's like normally
managing it on our own.
I just press the button and it's kind of crazy. Yes, we're here live at the On3 Studios in Nashville, Tennessee, the land where every day kids come trying to follow a dream. And now with the bracket out, we can talk about all the teams who are trying to accomplish their postseason dreams. And thank you to everybody who's tuning in. Hopefully y'all are enjoying the chat right now.
I know. We can't even see it.
I know.
This is so weird. Maybe that's why we're so focused.
You know how it goes.
I mean, we can try and get the chat up. You never know.
It's fine.
Hi, everybody.
What other regional do you want to talk about before we bring on Tori Tyson?
Well, let's just keep going down, I guess, to 3.
Sure.
Do you want to do pairs?
I mean, well, we can talk about the regional that Durham is paired with, the Gainesville regional. That's Florida, Mercer, Georgia Tech, Florida Atlantic. We will be talking to Mercer head coach Lindsay Fico in just a bit. Georgia Tech, the 3 seed. FAU, a dangerous 2. Man, the Owls are a squad that have really made some noise this year. Florida, also a team that's not necessarily playing super well right now. One and done in the SEC tournament. They did win the series against OU right on the heels of losing that series against LSU. So I'm not 100% sure where Florida sits, but I don't know. They also got probably the toughest 4. RPI-wise, Mercer is the toughest 4 in the NCAA tournament, and they're red hot coming off of a SoCon championship win where they had to win basically like 8 games in 3 days, essentially just double-headering it up from Wednesday on. It was a lot. It was 4 days, but still. Fico will correct me.
It is about pitching for Florida and if that offense can score enough runs. And we saw Florida in the SEC tournament struggle against an Ole Miss team. But I don't know. I just think Tim Moulton's teams and squads are really prepared in the postseason once they get to it. And I don't see how that's going to be an issue for the Gators. Maybe. I mean, Georgia Tech, I've been able to watch them in person at length in Atlanta. Another sneaky good team could get through there. But I really think Tim Moulton and the Gators are going to figure it out and have a solid regional.
Yeah, and again, that super regional matchup, if the seeds held, would be in Gainesville, 3 seed Florida against the 14 seed Duke. So again, that's a matchup that we saw earlier this year. So another thing to watch out for That they split that doubleheader. Cassidy Curd was awesome in the second game, but again, we haven't really seen Cassidy Curd for the last few weeks, so it'll kind of be on Danny Drugmuller to try and lead the way to get the Blue Devils to OKC.
Yeah, so that's the 3 and the 14. Let's move on to Arkansas as we continue to try and get Tori on here. I know that we're getting her on here pretty soon.
Let's go to the 4 seed. The 4 seed is Arkansas. Nailed it. 2 seed Oklahoma State, 3 seed Indiana.
Are you still going through your bracket?
I'm happy.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to be right. It doesn't happen often, as many of you know.
Fun fact, he sent a text, said, I got 7 of 8. Or no, 8 of 8? 8 of 8, sorry. And he said, I'm not trying to brag. And I just wrote back, that's bragging. Great.
Yeah, you know how we do.
Get 8 of 8.
Oklahoma State is the 2 seed, a team with high potential that has not played up to it this year. But as we've seen, Arkansas has had a few issues here and there trying to break through in the postseason. Regional play has not always been the easiest thing in the world. Got eliminated in regionals at home last year against Arizona. And Oklahoma State kind of feels like if they wake up, they could be a really, really tough draw as a 2. And don't forget Indiana is the 3. Taylor Minnick, an incredible player. They're the top team batting average in America. Arkansas's got a difficult draw here.
Yeah, and you never know about – that's the thing with the Cowgirls. I know there people even have been talking about their finish. Again, another team that shows up when the lights are bright. And Ruby Malin still throws a really heavy down ball, plus 70 in the zone. So the Cowgirls have the tools. They've been there before. And a tough seed to go against Arkansas. But, again, just watched Arkansas in the SEC tournament championship, and I was so impressed with Courtney Deifel's squad. I just really enjoyed watching those games, covering those teams, and when you've got the best hitter in the country in Bree Ellis, I think that's going to help you out there too.
Yeah, I mean, Bree Ellis, clear. We got. Is it Tori?
We got her?
We got Tori Tyson.
Oh my
Here we go. What's up? The head coach of Howard, Tori Tyson, joining us. Hi, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're thrilled that we've got you on for just a couple minutes. Congratulations on making it back to the NCAA tournament. Third time in program history that Howard has won the MEAC Conference Championship. What was that like to finally get back, to watch the selection show last night, and to experience that with your team?
It was everything. We had a very disappointing end to a very good season last year. So this was all about proving something to themselves, and they did that. It was super cool last night. A lot of first timers watching the selection show, so it was cool to experience that with them.
And Tori, your mission, not only for Howard, but just for women and softball, is so much bigger than the game. And I just, as you're here in this moment and looking back on everything that you've been through, what does that mean to you, and in everything that you've gone through?
Gosh, Tara, pulling on the heartstrings early. It's a blessing, and I realize that my purpose in being in the sport and leading women is a lot bigger than, just even the wins and losses, and to be able to have a group of women and being in a position that I feel empowered to instill light in them. And I think that the scariest part for them is that they have these limitations that they put on themselves that women typically do, or have this idea that they have to make themselves smaller because they don't want to appear a certain way. And I have to constantly battle and challenge that. And it gets exhausting sometimes because you look like the bad guy often. And I think just even in my profession, in my conference, I can't breed strong women and then make myself smaller. So I'm sure coaches in my conference probably don't even love me, but I don't want us to feel small. I don't want my women to feel small when they walk on the field at Duke and spend most of their time man, what if I would have just played? I want to empower them to go play. They're good enough. They're strong enough. You don't have to make yourself small regardless of your setting. And it is a super cool position because I am somebody's mother. So I have to live it and I got to walk it. And Skylar watches me like a hawk and she watches my team like a hawk. So I have to make sure that we're really walking the walk. And honestly, at this point, I think Skylar's going to walk in more confident than anybody. So it's really, really cool experience though.
Coach, I want to ask you about this matchup in the Durham Regional. You're going in. You're the first game of the NCAA tournament, kicking off at noon Eastern on Friday on the ACC Network. And it's a Duke team that you faced back at the Mary Nutter a while ago. What do you think of the matchup early on now that I'm sure you've kind of started scouting and getting ready for this?
Oh, yeah, they're in there rewatching that game right now as we speak. They had this feeling like we already played them, and I told them, no, you haven't. You didn't play them. You merely showed up, and you signed a couple autographs. They shared the field with Duke. They did not play Duke, and that has been the message. And that's not to – Duke is a great team. Marissa is someone I grew up watching. This is a phenomenal team, and there's phenomenal teams throughout this field. But we're going to go out there and try to play a better game of softball. We did not do that early on. And again, I think it's that we walked into Mary Nutter like, oh my gosh, like, you know, the awe factor. And that was the whole point of a pretty brutal preseason. I mean, those teams turned us every which way but loose. Duke squeezed on us. I'm like, man, Marissa made us strong. Like they squeezed on us up 10. This is about proving to themselves that they can go put together a quality game of softball regardless of their opponents. And it's bigger than softball, just being a woman. Be who you are and put out the best version of yourself. And that shouldn't be dictated by who's to the left or right of you or who's on the other side of the dugout.
Oh, I love that, Tori. Last one for me. You've been a part of a lot of teams throughout your coaching years. What makes this team different? Like, what sets this Howard team apart from the other teams?
One, I want to say this boldly. This is one of the best teams that the MEAC has had, and I say that with full confidence. And you can look at their numbers, and you can dislike me, but don't discredit them. This is a phenomenal group, and I'm super proud of them. And this is a team that is pushed and battle tested. Like I said, we had to sometimes just buckle up our pants and get ready for a beating early on in this. They are battle tested. The fear and getting your butt beat is gone. We lost that during that little streak of Palm Springs to Hawaii. So we ain't afraid of a butt whooping, but I think we're more afraid of putting out a bad game of softball. We're more afraid of that it is putting out the worst brand of softball in ourselves. So it is a really special group, and I want to give a special shout out to these seniors. I've mentioned it before that when Dylan passed in 2022, the core of this group, they lifted me up. Kenna was on another team in the MEAC, and they really showed love as well. So, and she's a part of this group. So they will always have a piece of my heart and my family's heart. And it's been such a blessing coaching them. And, I'm just trying to send them a reminder that I want them to go out and feel great about how they've left this program. And they have certainly left this program better than they found it.
That's amazing. Tori Tyson, the head coach of Howard, joining us here on Good Morning Softball America. Coach, congratulations on the bid. Best of luck in the NCAA tournament, and thank you so much for being our first guest here today on the Bracket Reaction Show.
Thank you. I appreciate everything y'all do. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks Coach.
Tori.
Good to see you.
Oh, love it.
That's so good. I love that. We're just going to keep it rolling.
Yeah.
You ready to keep going?
Yeah.
All right. So from the great Tori Tyson, head coach of Howard, to the nation's RBI leader, we haven't talked about the Knoxville Regional, but Tennessee is bringing in Ohio State, Miami of Ohio, and the North Carolina Tar Heels. And that includes Kat Rodriguez, FGCL, who joins us here. Kat, welcome. How are you?
Hi, guys. It's great to see y'all again.
Oh, man. How have you been? Because you are just still raking this year. I mean, you have been off the charts this season, leading the way with 83 RBIs. What has made this season so special for you at the plate?
I'm good. Honestly, I feel like I try saying this so many times, but like mechanically, swing's the same. I think it's the people in front of me. Everybody, we work as like a really good train together, and I think that's been the big difference of this year and how I've been hitting, really. I walk in there, it's like no pressure situations when I'm walking in there, like second and third, no outs. Like it's the situations I'm put in this year. They're a lot easier.
And Kat, I want to ask you about your relationship with Coach Smith. What's that been like for you this year? And how can you describe what that relationship is like?
Yeah, so Coach Smith is our defensive coach. She's our defense coach, so we work with her every day, day in and day out. But honestly, it's the relationship that you build outside of softball. We run like a little leadership program where anyone who wants to be a part of it can be a part of it. So she doesn't do captains. It's more just if you want to be a leader, if you want to learn how to lead, kind of join us, be a part of this. And it's there where I think I've learned the most from Coach Smith. She's taught us so much that it's not just softball, it's everything outside of it. How you interact with your teammates, how you interact with coaches, how you interact with the other opponents, honestly. So I think my relationship with Coach Smith over the year has grown tremendously, and I owe that woman the world. I love her so much for bringing me here and bringing me on board to what we're doing this year.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the atmosphere was like last night? I mean, I'm sure you thought there was a good chance that your team would get in the NCAA tournament, but first time since 2019, that had to be just an awesome feeling to watch your name get called in Knoxville.
Yeah, it was. So at the beginning of the day, we had a little team meeting at 1, and Coach Smith kind of had like the analytics of stuff. She's very numbers driven and stuff like that. So she's like, guys, like, I think there's a great chance we're making this. Like, we don't understand why we wouldn't make this. So she's like, let's meet up 7 p.m. Let's go get some dinner as a team. Win, lose, anything. It's as a team. We're going to celebrate together or we're going to be sad together, whatever it is. So we're like, okay. But during that meeting, she kind of told us, I would be cautious, look out for the Knoxville regional, maybe even the Columbia regional. And we were like, okay, Knoxville, Columbia, let's look for those. So Knoxville rolls around and we're like, okay, this is the first one. We're all sitting there and we're like, okay, Tennessee. And then Miss Holly Rowe goes, what about those North Carolina? All we heard was North, and everyone shot up out of their seats. We were all jumping, like some people were crying. When I got up, my chair fell back. Like it was a time, but I'm so glad we're getting this opportunity, honestly.
Oh, that's amazing. And those moments are the best with your teammates. I want to ask you, Kat, what does this week look like for you? Do you have that schedule? Have you figured out what you guys are doing when you're traveling? What does it look like for you?
Yeah, so we have practice in like 45 minutes. We're going practice today. Sadly, Chapel Hill has not given us the best weather this week. It's raining all week. So we're working a little bit inside. We're going to get really back to our routine. We're going to practice today, tomorrow, and then we should be traveling out on Wednesday, and then again, practice once we get to Knoxville and then see how it goes. But we're not really straying away from anything that we've been doing in the past. We're kind of sticking to what's been working with us, practice and training-wise. So we're going to do that these next 2 days.
I love that. Real quick, I want to ask you about the matchup because you've got Ohio State on the first day on Friday and then potentially Carlin Pickens and Tennessee on Saturday. As a hitter, how excited are you to be a part of a regional where you got a lot of potent offenses, a lot of big boppers all the way around, and then also a chance to potentially hit against the SEC Pitcher of the Year?
Right. I think obviously you respect both sides, hitting and pitching. We know last year I was at Pitt, so I've played Ohio State before every year. So I kind of seen a little bit of the ins and out of their offense and their pitching. But then obviously, you have the chance that you face Carlin Pickens, like you said, possible pitcher of the year this year. So me and the girls, we like to joke around, but we go into the batting facility and we call it hitting the heaters. So we put that hit tracks, we put it as high as possible, and we just hit the heaters. So last night, it's funny, we found out we were going to Knoxville, and the first thing me and one of the other seniors, Grace Jackson, had said, we were like, so I'll see you tomorrow, heaters at the facility. So I think that's one of the jokes, but honestly, the serious stuff that we're going to be doing to prepare for possibly facing upper 70s.
Oh, I love that. Hit the heaters. You got to trademark that, brand that. That's amazing. I mean, you're probably going up there. Can you get it up to 80? Can you get it up to 78?
We'll find out. We got it to 76 one time. Yeah, it was a Duke series. We were doing the Duke series, and we just kept seeing Cass, and Cass throws pretty hard, obviously. So we were like, let's just hit these heaters. Let's see how hard we can get this. And we were like, 76. Yeah, sure, that seems realistic. We're just hitting it. So we're going to hit the heaters again this week.
That's awesome. Well, Kat, congratulations on an incredible season. I cannot wait to to watch you in the postseason. I know we've discussed this prior, but it's so cool watching an FGCLer who has just grown so much, and we're all interested to see what the Tar Heels can do in the postseason. Best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kat.
Thanks, Kat.
Awesome.
The nation's RBI leader, Kat Rodriguez.
Hitting the heaters.
Hit the heaters. Just hit the heaters.
Go into the cage, hit the heaters. What an awesome game. I hope that, Kat, you can take a video for us for hit the heaters video.
I want to see. And I love the matchup against Ohio State.
Yeah.
The first day. I didn't mention this, and I should have. That'll be 4 o'clock Eastern time on Friday, North Carolina, Ohio State on ESPNU, so a nationally televised slot right there. And Ohio State, those home run hitters, I mean, they've got a lot of pop in that lineup. Kat Rodriguez having a great year. I thought North Carolina pitching looked really good in the ACC tournament. Kenneray Dark threw really well against Virginia Tech in that second-round game. So that'll be a fun matchup to see who probably takes on Carlin Pickens on Saturday.
And isn't this a repeat from last year? Didn't Ohio State or Miami, Ohio go to Tennessee?
They did.
Kieran Kumar, little storyline there.
Never played Tennessee, remember?
Little storyline there.
Yeah.
You know, Kieran Kumar, who was at Miami, Ohio, is now the head coach at Ohio State, is now going back to Tennessee. Who they were there last
Someone
year.
get the thread. Just yarn it up. Okay.
Yeah. Another sneaky good regional.
And speaking of sneaky good, this is something I've been waiting for.
I was waiting. Was there somebody coming on?
Oh, yeah.
Guest?
We've got our next guest
Oh,
ready.
wow. We are rolling.
Speaking
Trey,
of the FGCL,
let's go.
producer Trey kicking it. Lindsay Fico is here, the head coach of the Mercer Bears. Go Bears! And the SoCon champs. Fico, how you doing?
Oh, great. It was so easy to wake up the last couple of days. So easy.
I got to ask you, like, this SoCon run, basically doubleheader after doubleheader after doubleheader to win this title and then to take down Chattanooga, who'd been so good all year long. What did you see from your team as they went on this magical run to make the NCAA tournament?
Oh, well, I mean, I think the easier question is what we didn't see. We saw a little bit of everything. We saw a team that got down early and then came back and tied it up and then took the lead and then lost. I mean, just absolutely everything. I think the biggest thing that we saw this week from our team is their ability to just focus on us. And I do think that was the key to this week. You know, I mean, I've talked to multiple people in the office this morning. It was almost like there was not even another dugout. You know, at times we didn't even know that there were umpires. I mean, they were so laser focused on what we were going to do, not what was going to happen to us and how we were going to handle it. And it was a really special week.
And Coach, what was the party like yesterday? What was that atmosphere like? Did you have the team all together? What was that like?
We did. We set up in our big, nice football team room and in the football field house and brought in food. Our girls love a chicken wing. Brought in some taco mac. Some taco
I know Kara
mac.
Parker does too. Come on now.
Yeah, Kara Parker can crush a chicken wing, man. But we brought in taco mac and ate and enjoyed it. Rewatched the game, the championship game, and screamed at the end of it like we did it all again, and then got done with that just in time for the selection show and enjoyed that together.
Coach, I remember a couple years ago when Mercer played in Tuscaloosa and I was doing the TV game and you and I were chatting about kind of where the program was at that point. And now you look at where it is now. What has this journey been like, especially with these seniors, especially with a senior like Tori Hedgecock, who's stayed and who's helped kind of build things with you and get this program where you want it to be?
I'm going to give you probably something that you're going to absolutely love because I know you so well, Gray. We won 16 games in game one. We lost 40 games in game one. Tori Hedgecock started her freshman career campaign at UNCG, the reigning conference champion, her freshman year. She had to come off of third base to pitch. We played a total of 15 innings that first conference series, and Courtney has the charts to prove it. UNCG swung and missed twice on Saturday in a doubleheader. I don't think I have to finish the rest of the conversation, right?
We got you.
Gray, what in the world? I knew you would love it because I know
And now here we are.
What in the world?
I didn't know.
I mean,
It's come back to us.
I mean, it's incredible though. Like, because again, like I know it hasn't been easy, and the way that this team and this program has stuck together. Like, I commend you and Kara and Courtney Gettins and our girl Devin Flaherty. Shout out to the Lynx. I mean, y'all have done such a good job really coalescing this group the last few years.
Yeah. It's the addition of Devin to our coaching staff and Kaylee as a graduate student manager from FSU. Their level of professionalism and wisdom beyond their years, and just how they were coached up at FSU. I mean, Coacha is wonderful to everybody. So for us to have them on our staff in our dugout this year, it has been a game changer, and I told him, I think in our first staff meeting, I don't care how old you are. I don't care that you just graduated. I don't care that you haven't done this. Your opinion here matters. And when I ask you for an opinion, I want your opinion. I don't want a yes. And they took that seriously. And we've had really sometimes uncomfortable conversations as a staff, but that's what's needed, to grow and to really get to that next level. And that's what they've done.
And facing in the Gainesville Regional, as you take a look at this and break it down, what does those preparations look like in preparing for this regional?
Yeah, I mean, the preparations, it looks very similar to what we've done. I mean, if we tell our girls, hey, it's still softball, it's still the same game, maybe it's going to move a little bit faster. If we change what we're doing now, then we're not doing what we preach to them. So it's killing 16 trees and printing out every 643 chart there is, and getting on Synergy and rewatching film until 4:00 in the morning and waking up at 6. It's that, so we're not gonna treat this any differently. I want my kids, and I know that they're young women, but I want my kids to enjoy the moment. I told them multiple times throughout this week, if you don't let the moment get bigger than you, really crazy things can happen. And I want them to do that. I want them to enjoy it. I mean, of course there's going to be emotion. Me going back to Florida and what that place means to me and what that program means to me and what Coach Walton means to me. But I can't let the moment get too big for me either. So we have to just stick to what we know, what works, and hold fast there and just keep going.
Last thing for me, Coach, how crucial is it to have that win earlier this year at Georgia to kind of point to and to show your team, hey, look, I know we're the 4 seed, but we've beaten an SEC team in an SEC park. We can do this.
It's huge. It's huge. Being a Gator through and through, I love Tony and his staff and what he does there, and they're a phenomenal program, but I hate Georgia. I mean, I do. I mean, I'd lie to you if I told you I didn't. I hated Georgia when I played. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, it's FSU, and how are you working with 2 FSU kids? But Georgia was the team. It was Georgia or Steph and Alabama that knocked us out all the time. Yep. So it's huge for us to be able to have handled our composure on that big of a stage within this season. Now that we've done what we needed to do to get in on an even bigger stage. So that's big stuff. We played Florida over the fall, so we've been there before. They're very familiar with it. Coach Walton has found a way to play me every year. I got away with just going to him this fall instead of the spring, thank God. But we've been there. So I hope that all of our preparation and our enjoyment and our fun and our love for the game just kind of takes over. Um, and maybe the sunshine will still continue to shine on the Bears. We'll see.
I love it. I love it. I will say, Coach, I texted you this last night. My heart broke a little bit that Mercer wasn't coming to Tuscaloosa because I was really excited to party with my friends. But
I know it Court too. Like Court, Court. Listen, hey, and listen. Court's parents are in the States from New Zealand.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Almost
they were
had
like,
it.
we're gonna. Oh yeah, they were like, we're gonna go back to Rhodes. But I mean, we're excited nonetheless.
See, this is committee why you got a B and not a B plus from me. Rachel, Lindsay Fico, the head coach for the Mercer Bears, joining us. Fico, my friend, congratulations. Best of luck in Gainesville. We love you. Go Bears, and good to have you on the show.
thanks for being
Go
here.
Bears! Thank you, Gray. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, man. Lindsay Fico, that's my girl.
I know, you get excited.
I love her. FGCL, man. The bonds run deep.
Trey had to turn your mic down.
Did you actually? He said a little bit. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just, I'm hype. I'm hype. I'm hype.
I'm
Lindsay
missing
Fico.
my coffee cup. I really.
I've already drained a water,
Yeah.
and we're not even an hour in.
I know.
We've got more guests coming up. You ready to just keep going?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. We've already talked about the College Station Regional. We have not talked to anybody in the College Station Regional, but that can change right now as we bring on the Texas A&M Aggie, the shortstop for the Fighting Texas Ags, Koko Wooley. Koko, welcome in. How are you?
Hi, good.
Good morning, Koko. First and
morning.
foremost, congratulations. What a year it's been. Was at the SEC tournament, and just want to ask you, what was that experience like this year in Athens at the SEC tournament? I know obviously ultimately there was a rain out for the Champ Series, but what was that like for you?
It was super fun. It was super fun for everybody to be on the same page, everyone to be hitting. I feel like it was the first time around, like, up and down the lineup, everyone was hitting. So it was super fun to see that.
That's awesome. And last night, I know that there was a little debate around the country. Nobody was really sure who was going to get the top seed, except for me. I correctly predicted that. What was the watch party like for you and your teammates, and especially, I'm sure, the explosion that came once you saw that your team was number one?
It was super fun. It's something that hadn't been done in a very long time, and it's super fun for this group to get to experience that. We've worked really hard. We've prepared very hard. So it's super exciting for us to get what we feel like we deserve. So I'm excited to see us compete.
And Koko, I was there during that weather delay on Saturday, waiting to see if y'all were going to play. Can you describe what that day was like for you as a player? Did you want to play? Were you hoping that you played? Was it back and forth, in and out of the training facility? What was that like?
Yes, obviously we wanted to play. Like, we wanted to compete. It's always fun to compete and prepare us for this week. But it was super anxious. We went back, like you said, we went back and forth from our locker room to the hitting cages. So it was super anxious. We never knew if we were going to play. We never knew if we weren't going to play. Sometimes we looked outside and it wasn't raining, and then we would look outside again and it was pouring. But I feel like we did a good job of staying really loose, having fun with each other, and just controlling what we could control.
And I got to ask about the night before, the 14-2 win over Texas. Look, I got Aggie family. My entire mom's side of the family all went to Texas A&M. I understand the feelings between the Aggies and the Longhorns. Obviously, what happened in Supers last year as well. How much fun was that to kind of play that well and to make such a statement against a rival like Texas in the SEC semis?
It was super fun. I feel like we came locked in. We had come off of a good win against South Carolina. We weren't hitting the best that we could have, but we were hitting very well. So it was super fun to be able to compete and honestly get what we feel like we've been waiting for. Last year they upset us, whatever. Well, not really upset us, but in our hearts they upset us. So it was a good feeling to be able to just feel that victory and also take that next step to be able to compete in the championship. because that's also never been really done for us at Texas A&M.
And Koko, last one from me. What does this week look like for you? How does that preparation look like? Obviously, you get to sleep in your own bed or be at home. What does that look like for the Texas Aggies?
Truly, nothing changes. We prepare the same for every game. We play every game like it's our last, so nothing really changes, but it is nice to be able to sleep in your own bed.
And last thing before we let you go, Davis Diamond, I mean, it's a beautiful facility. The crowd is always popping. The bubbles are always flying. And with a regional that's got a really good team like Liberty, Marist has a really good offense. What do you want to see from the home crowd in this opportunity to be the number 1 overall seed and potentially host not just this weekend, but the next in Supers?
We just want the same support. We want everyone to be out here. We want everyone to support us. And like you said, we want to see bubbles flying because it's going to be fun. It's going to be super fun. It's going to be competitive.
I love that. Koko Wooley joining us
we
here
know
on Good Morning
we know
Softball
you got to
America.
go get a lift in, so we're going to let you jump out
Yes.
of here.
Pump it up.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Koko.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Gig 'em.
I know, Texas A&M.
That's going to get clipped. I shouldn't have done that. That's okay. My
Amazing.
mom is happy.
Yeah. I mean, that offense, and she's part of that. Just the offense, the leadership aspect of Koko Wooley and what they've been able to do at Texas A&M, that is a well-rounded team in the Aggies.
3:30 Eastern time on Friday. That is when A&M kicks off their NCAA tournament against St. Francis. That'll be on the SEC Network. We'll see if while we're on the air right now, I'll double check and see if the announcing crews have been presented.
I don't see them yet.
We might be able to tell you who's going where for regionals.
Maybe it'll be breaking news here shortly.
We'll see. I mean, we've got another hour at least. Who's to say? Could bleed over too, maybe. Trey's good. He's got like another 2
you
hours.
need to order Trey some lunch if that happens.
I'm
Greg.
good with that. I'm good with that. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to talk to Chelsea Spencer, the head coach of Cal, but I want to take a quick moment to make sure that we get to some of the regionals we have not gotten to yet. Let's talk a little bit about the 8-9 duo right there, South Carolina and UCLA. The Gamecocks in the Columbia Regional have Elon coming in, champs of the CAA. Congratulations to the Phoenix. Virginia and North Florida. North Florida, Allison Benning, we've had her on this show this year. Virginia has played South Carolina already, got walked off twice week 1 in Columbia. South Carolina, a team that keeps winning, keeps finding different ways to win. I was really impressed by their game plan against Alabama in the SEC tournament and their aggressiveness and execution of that game plan. But I'm telling you, Virginia and North Florida, those are not easy 2s and 3s in Columbia, South Carolina.
No, it's not. And when you take a look at this 8 seed, I think we were going back and forth on whether or not South Carolina was going to get a top 8 seed. And you just have to tip your cap to the first-year head coach, Ashley Chastain Woodard. What a job she's done with the Gamecocks in just – it's less than a year, right? Taking over less than a year ago. And a team that is always competing, prepared. They have competitive at-bats. And I've been impressed with Sam Gress in the circle. She's got that arm side run. She's tough to lefties and to righties as well. Just for the Gamecocks, it's going to be to stick to their plan. I know we saw an uncharacteristic defensive game for them in the last game of the SEC tournament, but I think that when you look at this regional, yes, you got Allison Benning at North Florida and a Virginia team, which I don't know if you remember early, Gray, like it was like heartbreak after heartbreak.
It was like 3 weeks of walk-off losses.
It was, it was awful to watch.
Poor Eden
It
Bigham.
was like literally every other game. So a team that is tested, they've gone through a lot and a lot of adversity in terms of Virginia, but not a cakewalk. Not a cakewalk for the Gamecocks, but again, I would be surprised if they don't get out of this regional.
As somebody who's watched a lot of film on South Carolina in the last week for my other job, I think
You have
one of
another job?
Yeah, I do. And besides sitting here podcasting with you, which is lovely, I think that one of the things that impresses me most about Ashley Chastain Woodard and what she does is when she makes pitching moves, she has made more often than not the right move. Game 3 against Alabama, they started Sam Gress. It wasn't working. Brought in Neely Lamb at the perfect time. It just seems like she has a great feel of when Sam Gress, Jory Hurd, and Neely Lamb need to be cycled, and that's something that could make that team obviously they're good. They're a top 8 seed, but even harder to prepare for in that regional and down the line, just because you got to truly be ready for all 3 pitchers at the drop of a hat.
Absolutely. And just the offense, Katie Browder has done such a nice job with that offense, not hitting a ton of balls out of the yard, but loads and loads of doubles. I don't have the doubles number up here with me, but that team gets it done. And when you're hitting doubles, if you're hitting them back to back, that's a run. And
Carly Shelton, SEC leader in doubles.
Yeah, and Ari Rhodey just really have been impressed with what they put together there with a team that is basically new, and a pitching staff that you just talked about in Neely Lamb and Sam Gress, that really, and Jory Hurd, that has done a nice job piecing it together. And again, I agree with you. I think using that pitching staff, pitching by committee, has been key for the Gamecocks, and another thing that we're going to see in this regional.
And what a fun battle, because Virginia, they're like the queens of pitch by committee. I mean, they cycle through really, really well. They're paired with Los Angeles, the Los Angeles regional number 9 overall seed, the UCLA Bruins, with 2 seed Arizona State, 33 RPI, 3 seed San Diego State, 29 RPI. Okay.
Tough.
4 seed UC Santa Barbara and Joe Evans. Shout out to UCSB back in the NCAA tournament. But for the Bruins, this is a lot of really good pitching. Kinsey Brown for Arizona State. It's going to be interesting to see how Megan Bartlett uses her. She's probably going to have to throw against San Diego State. So if I'm the Sun Devils, I'm hoping that the bats come out hot so you can conserve some energy for potentially a matchup with UCLA. And San Diego State, they've been here before. Lord knows they've been to Los Angeles plenty of times, and they know what to do in these situations. They've made it to a super regional not too long ago. So this is going to be a fun matchup.
And this regional is pretty tough. I think when you take a look at LSU's regional, which we talked about at the top of the hour, and this is another tough region for the Bruins. I think Kinsey Brown is going to make it really difficult for any offense. But again, I do agree with you. I think she's going to have to throw against San Diego State. You've got to get that first win in the tournament. You can't afford to drop that first game. But it's not an easy route for the Bruins. And like you said, San Diego State is familiar. They're not going to be intimidated by walking into Easton Stadium. They've been there before. Most of them have been and played there. And again, this is just a different matchup. To see Arizona State playing UCLA, former Pac-12 foes, it's different to see it in a regional and one that I've got my eye on.
Yeah, we'll be tracking. Again, that'll be a fun regional. Those will be the late games, like super late. So, and we'll talk to Jordan Woolery in just a little bit to get even more of a preview with UCLA and everybody else. But we're talking 7:30 Eastern, and San Diego State, Arizona State is on E2 at 10 Eastern on Friday. So get your coffee, folks. It's gonna be a late night. Let's talk as we kind of go down on the left side about the 5 seed Florida State and the Tallahassee regional. Robert Morris coming in as the 4 seed, 2 seed Auburn, 3 seed South Florida. South Florida, the champs of the AAC. Auburn playing some of their best softball right now. I know they lost to Alabama in the SEC tournament. I was pretty impressed by Shea Guerin, and I thought they had some pretty good at-bats in that game. I thought their defense played really well in that contest in the SEC tournament. South Florida, obviously feeling good. Great comeback win over North Texas in the AAC title game. So Florida State, especially with the Supers opponent, this is going to test out the every other year theory just a bit.
Oh, yes. Gray's got his every other year theory where Florida State should be making it to the Women's Gold World Series this year.
Should be good this year, but again, the path is the path. It's not easy.
And when you talk about Auburn, what a hot start they had. And S.J. Guerin really led that staff in the circle early. I think when you got into SEC play, we saw the Tigers struggle, but again, have been impressed with the bats and know that they're going to give Florida State a run for their money. And when you take a look at who they could potentially be paired at, that Florida State will be paired with potentially Texas Tech, which to me is a really exciting super. But again, Florida State, I've been really high on Florida State all year long. Annabelle Riedra in the circle for the Noles. They've got Apsel, they've got Jazzy Francic, and then their leadership in Michaela Edenfield. Still to this day, Gray, that golden ticket was just one of the most incredible moments in my softball just time career.
Top tier moment. I know
Yeah.
Jen Schroeder is watching. Jen, you
Yes.
helped make that happen.
That was incredible. But I'm big on Florida State, and I think that's going to be an easy, not easy, but I think they'll get out of there pretty easily.
Well, I think it's time to bring on another guest.
I know,
we have crossed the top of the hour, so let's chat with the head coach of the Cal Bears, Chelsea Spencer. Coach, welcome in. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great. Chels, thanks for being here. We're so excited to have you on the show. What was the selection party show set up last night? Did you guys hang out? What was that like?
Oh, we just got into the Tahir room, the football place, and just kind of, I don't know. It's you never know how you feel until you really get in there, and very grateful that our name was called, and going back to Oklahoma is going to be a test for sure. But even more importantly, Groff beat us last year at SIU, so she's now at Oklahoma or Omaha, and so it's very grateful, very fortunate that we're in. Now it's time to show Groff what type of Bear team that we have this year.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that because I feel like we're getting a lot of kind of like sneaky repeats. A lot of the transfer pitchers are going places and seeing teams they saw last year. So how can you utilize that truly to make sure that your team doesn't overlook Omaha?
Oh man, we've already had experiences this year that we overlook people. We've got to learn from our mistakes and to play every pitch in the game from the first pitch to the last, living truly in the present. And I think we're in a good spot. We know what she has. We know what she beat us on, and I'll tell you, she's not going to beat us on that again. We're not going to make the same mistake twice.
And Chelsea, you said you're going back to Oklahoma. What was that reaction, knowing that you're going back to the Norman Regional? What were your first reactions for that?
Just like it was surprising that we were going to go there. Everybody else thought we were going to go somewhere else. The selection committee does their best to try to get wherever the people where they need to go. I didn't really want to go back to Oklahoma, but we've already beat Landry. I mean, you can't look ahead of Groff, right? But we beat Landry last year, and that gives us some hope that we can come out.
For some of the folks who maybe haven't gotten a good look at your team and who are excited to watch you play in Norman this weekend, talk about some of the power in the offense. Bell, Butler, Quiroga, you got a lot of power hitters in this lineup. But what's made this offense kind of sing this year for your squad?
The work that these put in. We are more experienced in the postseason. We are still out hitting our last numbers last year. I mean, we're hitting 316. It's a good number going into the postseason with our top 6 student athletes in the lineup. Really, I think peaking at the right time. Right, we went through a little